Right, now we have the second public affairs resolution. So I will read the wording for the resolution. Plastic soup. Keep microplastic fibres out of our oceans. Microplastic fibres are shed from synthetic clothing with every wash and are the main contributors to microplastic contamination of the oceans. The NFWI calls on the government and industry to research and develop innovative solutions to this problem in order to stop the accumulation of microplastic fibres in our oceans. The resolution will now be proposed and seconded, and Hilary Howarth, member of Ashley NWI Buckinghamshire, will propose the resolution.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's a privilege to propose the plastic soup resolution here today on behalf of Ashley Green WI. Microplastic fibres are tiny threads shed from synthetic garments every time we wash them. They don't look dangerous, but they slip through machine filters, slip past water treatment filters, attract pollutants in the ocean, and enter the food chain. We've heard a lot about microbeads lately, but the problem of microfiber pollution is far greater. Some people may say this issue is too big for the WI. Well, yes, it's global, but we can make a difference because it starts local, with the clothes we buy and the laundry we do. Local action is exactly how we call on government and industry to innovate and reform. Any WI, any member, can become the local educating authority on plastic soup in their area. Think of it as an invitation to make noise in your local community. We do have a bit of a history of that, don't we? Now, some may say this issue is too difficult for the WI. Well, we don't need to send out ships to research the problem. There are more than 100 peer-reviewed studies already published. We can trust the science that microplastics are in the sea, on the coastline, in the fish, in the birds. It's true, we don't have the solutions yet. We'll need to beware of unintended consequences and check that solutions we find don't cause issues elsewhere. But innovating companies are starting to come up with ideas already. So while that research is in its infancy, we know how fast infants grow. Some may say it's too soon for the WI to act on plastic soup. Yes, it is the biggest problem most people have never heard of, but that's why there's the urgent need now to raise awareness and push for solutions. Some of our resolutions have been truly ahead of their time, and this resolution follows in that proud tradition. We were first with land litter, when a WI resolution led to the creation of Keep Britain Tidy, so let's be first with this. Plastic soup is a big issue. It's a difficult issue, and it's early days. But we are the WI. It's not too big for us. Let's seize the chance to bring plastic soup to the top of government and industry's agendas. Let's make sure that we are the You Heard It Here First organisation for our membership. A vote for the resolution acknowledges the challenges. A vote for the resolution is a commitment to turn them into opportunities. I urge you to vote for this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilary. And I now ask Becky Root, member of Gloucester Road WI Avon Federation, to second the resolution.
Good afternoon, everyone. A vote can feel like one drop in a limitless ocean. Yet what is an ocean but a multitude of drops? And our ocean is one that I vote yes to protect and do utmost to care for. This is the reason why I proposed ban the microbead last year, and also the reason why I'm standing here today. As a seconder to this resolution, I wish to highlight what we can do together to prevent and raise awareness of the effects microplastic fibres have on entering our waterways. I urge you to vote yes, because together we can be the early backers with a chance to be the face of this campaign, both locally and nationally. We can utilise the WI's platform to both raise awareness and educate. We can help people understand how they can tackle this issue in their own lives. This could be changing consumption habits, washing habits, and even exploring natural fibre alternatives, including materials such as bamboo and seaweed. We can explore the role both local and developing world producers have to play in creating sustainable alternatives. We can create powerful partnerships with local and national charities, building upon the growing research available on how microplastic fibres are entering our food chain and potentially impacting human health. We can put pressure on industry at multiple levels, pushing clothing manufacturers to come up with more sustainable clothing options and to educate consumers about the issue. Also, pushing manufacturers on pre-production washing machine filters and demand products such as guppy bags and eco balls become widely available. I believe the WA can make a huge impact with this campaign. The actions we take now will ripple through generations to come. Let's vote yes and kickstart our better future. Thank you for listening.
Our first expert speaker is Dr. Natalie Weldon, Research Associate at the Open University, who will speak in support of the resolution. Please welcome Dr. Natalie Weldon.
If 10 years ago someone had told me that one of my major concerns would be how often a Glaswegian washed their socks, I wouldn't have believed you. But unfortunately, in the world of environmental pollution, you can never be quite sure where your next threat is going to come from. And unfortunately, the story of Scottish sock washing and its effect on scampi or langoustine is one that has dominated my work in the past 5.5 years. Like most of our most harmful pollutants, plastics are the ideal solution to a human problem. Like DDT before them, the reliable pesticide which was set to decimate songbird populations across the US and wider world. Or CFCs, which used to be the coolant in your fridge and the propellant in your hairspray until we realised that they were creating a hole in the ozone layer and increasing cancer risks worldwide. It is often the case that our most prolific pollutants tend to begin as a brilliant idea. Plastics were first developed in the 1900s, with mass production beginning in the 60s. As we learned more about their many properties and how they could be used, their mass production generally spread. Fast forward 50 years and the population of the world has more than doubled, from 3 billion to over 7.5 billion today. Over this time, plastic has done even better in terms of multiplying its growth, going from 15 million tonnes in 1964 up to over 322 million tonnes in the past year. It is an intrinsic part of many of our commercial and industrial products, including our clothes. And last year, 18 million tonnes of staple synthetic fibres were produced worldwide. With so many increasing sources, it is not surprising that the levels of plastic entering our oceans have become too great to remain undetected. Observations of the plastic in the marine environment are not a new thing, dating back from the 50s with things like Bakelite on the Titanic. However, in 2010, a study was published that reported an increase in the proportion of small plastic items measuring less than 5 millimeters in size. They were going up in relation to those traditional large marine debris items that we were saying. These were coined microplastics, and once seen, they couldn't be ignored. And I was shipped off to the Isle of Cumbrae in the Clyde Sea to look at the effects of microplastic on one of the UK's most important fisheries and environments. For those of you not familiar with the Clyde, it's a fjord-like estuary on the Scottish coast, and most of my anecdotes will come from there, but this is a problem that you can see throughout the country. If any of you are familiar with the islands of Arran or Bute, that's where you're looking at. And it has numerous sources of plastic pollution, including many outfalls that discharge directly into the Clyde and the rivers of its catchment, serving highly urbanised areas, including Greater Glasgow, which has a population of 1.2 million people. This is combined with the impacts of coastal tourism, recreational and competitive sailing, and a strong maritime industry, including fishing and international shipping. In addition to all these plastic sources, the shape of the Clyde Sea herds plastic together, causing it to build up. The currents place it on beaches and in the sediments, or keep it drifting in eddies for long periods of time, and it's not going out to the Irish Sea or moving away. Here I was given the task of sampling the sediment, water column and marine organisms for the presence of plastic pollution. And I'd be out on boats twice a month or more, getting as many samples as I could, working with students and other researchers. When sampling animals, I focus primarily on longustine or scampi. It's a pretty tasty subject, and I got very many good meals out of it, but it's one that's worth 200 million euros across Europe, 55% of those landings coming into UK ports from UK vessels. Now, despite the many sources of plastic into the Clyde, it was fibres that I found in highest abundance. There are numerous potential sources of those fibres, as you've heard, such as the wear of fishing nets and the degradation of reinforced tyre tread. But by far the largest source is that of domestic clothes washing and those scurrilous Scottish socks. These fibres, which can be seen as the lint in your dryer, are too small for screening in wastewater treatment plants, and they travel down our rivers to build up in the marine environment and in the water column, or sinking in the sediments. The shape of these fibres not only helps them to escape our water treatment plants, but results in their ingestion by a range of marine organisms, particularly causing problems for those with narrow or complex gut systems. If you imagine a twig travelling down a drain pipe, it's fine so long as it's in the right plane and it's moving straight through. But as soon as it goes to the wrong angle or hits a bend, you're going to have a problem. And they build up in large numbers in the stomachs, causing boluses or aggregations that affect feeding in many ways. Now, this is typified in longustine, in which I would find large balls of tangled fibres which would take up to 30% of their stomach volume. Lab tests of these longustine that ingested plastic revealed that they had lower appetites, which isn't really surprising, I wouldn't feel like eating either, lower growth rates and increased mortality. Not only that, but as well as depleting this important resource, our second most economically important fishery, they also reduce the introduction of new individuals into the population, as smaller adults impacted by plastic produce fewer eggs. I'm sure that you'll have heard of some of the other effects that have already been discussed up here, such as irritation to the gills and gut lining, the carrying of communities of harmful microbes, or of hydrophobic pollutants which stick to the structure of plastic like fatty spaghetti sauce does to a washing up bowl. Their resistance to degradation results in their persisting in the environment, harming subsequent animals after the original host is deceased. During the time in the Clyde, I and the other students and researchers there recorded microfiber uptake in fish, crabs, shrimp, and numerous small plankton species, and globally the number of animals known to ingest microfibers is increasing. Perhaps unsurprisingly, researchers and conservation authorities and increasing members of the public are concerned, and this worry has translated into action on a global scale, educated and including the public in the mission to reduce the threat to the marine environment. In the 50s and 60s, when this issue was first coming to bear, this was the time of publication of things like this, and this was the publication of a pollution issue. This is Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, which was published in 1962, and it documents beautifully and emotionally the loss of American songbirds as a result of DDT contamination in crop sprays. This was a landmark in environmental writing, and yet the ban on DDT did not occur until 1972, over a decade after original reports came in and 8 years after the death of the author. We cannot afford to wait that long. Today, researchers work closely with citizen science groups, write blogs and appear on television and publish as fast as we can to draw attention to the perils of plastic abuse and those synthetic socks. And we are lucky. Plastics are not some invisible contaminant like DDT or CFCs. It is a problem that people can understand. It follows you on your way to work and it sits on the beaches with you on your holidays. It's something that can be tackled at home, unlike far-off oil spills or a difficult disease, and it brings communities together for beach cleans and litter picks across the country. People understand plastic pollution, and even when the problem is on the micro scale as it is with fibres, it remains a story that inspires people to action. The current successes in the legislation against microbeads and plastic bags is due to the massive public pressure that has been placed on manufacturers and government bodies. I've been fortunate to work with concerned people around the UK, and their drive to protect the environment achieves more than a few charts and tables in my papers ever could. I was thrilled to be invited to speak here on behalf of the Plastic Soup Campaign and to emphasise that as an organisation you can achieve amazing things to protect our marine environment. As with microbeads and plastic bags, there are many ways to combat microfibre pollution. We can reduce what is released from our washing machines with the use of extra filters, external filters originally developed to protect septic tanks, which can remove plastics down to 0.2 millimetres. You could use a laundry bag and reduce stuff that way. You could move away from fast fashion, which is designed to disintegrate within a couple of months, or you could make that jump straight to natural fibres. Now, unfortunately, whilst we can all do stuff to reduce microfibres in our individual homes, small reductions in the long term may not be enough. The UK population is projected to increase from 65 million a couple of years ago to 75 million in 2040, an increase of 10 million over the next 25 years. Small reductions will barely offset the increase in the amount of clothes being washed every week. However, the challenges don't stop there, and there is something we can do, because together we can create the political incentive for the rollout of better filtrations in water treatment plants. We can encourage companies to invest in polymers with lower lifespans, because yes, nobody wants their top to fall apart in a fortnight, but we also don't need it to last 200 years. I believe that the Women's Institutes have a huge role to play in this process. Your community presence and lobbying power will provide the public and political drive for change. Help to educate your family, your friends, your neighbours, your schools, your brownie packs, Sea Scouts, anybody as to the issue of microfibres and their effect on marine life. Change your buying choices. Vote with your feet. Cosmetics manufacturers were fast to agree to microplastic targets in relation to microbeads because they couldn't stand up to the combined pressure of evidence and public opinion. Now let's turn that pressure on a new target and use that precedent to form a wedge. Over the next decade, I'd love to see a reduction in the use of unnecessary plastics, to see industry step up and tackle the problems of plastic disposal. And I'd love to stop worrying about all of those Scottish socks. But I cannot do this alone, and nobody in research can. You represent a fantastic opportunity to reach out and into communities that I would not otherwise have. So if you have any questions today that I can help to sway you or to change your mind if you were thinking of voting and opposing, I am happy to help. Please, please, please vote yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Natalie. As we don't have a speaker against the resolution, I've been asked to actually just put forward some points for you to consider before voting. Firstly, the research into the problem of microfibre plastic fibres is still in its infancy. Do we know enough about this issue to take action? Secondly, this is a huge problem and would require input from a number of stakeholders, including consumers, clothing manufacturers, washing machine manufacturers, and the water industry. Is this an issue on which the WI can make a difference? And lastly, developing solutions to this problem could also be very costly. Is it achievable? Right, debate on the resolution. We can take some points from the floor. Please remember to give your name, WI and Federation. Again, the stewards will hold up the flags indicating the microphones, and no more than 2 minutes, please. The microphones, as we know, are numbered, and I'll try and get it right this time. And they'll be deactivated if you actually overrun your time. So, thank you. Shall we start with number 1? Seems like a good idea.
Hi, Sean Paskin, Ipstone WI. It seems such a contradiction, this resolution, to the previous one. Not the previous resolution, sorry, the previous speaker we had. Because she said how starting from two small pieces of chocolate and us supporting the fair trade, which was, nobody else was doing, we managed to change and encourage people to think in a totally different way. Why is it such a problem to be, sort of embracing that challenge now on this? I don't see why we can't. So thank you.
There's somebody at number 2. Yeah.
Celia Crawshaw, St Giles WI, Isle of Ely Federation. I'm going to repeat 1 or 2 things that have already been said, but they lead on to the rest of what I've got to say. I've been researching this subject on behalf of the Isle of Ely, and the more information I found, the more convinced I became that this matter is of crucial importance to us, to our families, and to the wider world.
Can you just, if you're going to turn and look at your paper.
Oh, sorry.
Could you just move a bit, that way. Thank you.
The plastic bags, rubbish, bottles that we discard so lightly are coming back to us in our food. It's been predicted that unless we take action to prevent it, there will be more plastic in the sea than fish soon. If not in our lives, then in the lives of our children and grandchildren. And that's not just a problem for the fish. It has implications for people who unknowingly will be consuming and collecting in their bodies those potentially harmful residues. And thus, as the resolution implies, there's an urgent need for our government and other governments around the world to stimulate effective action. But I don't think we should leave it at that. Governments have many responsibilities, and as everyone knows, ours has other pressing business over the next 2 years, and tomorrow too. In my view, we don't need to wait for government. This is something on which every individual WI member can take action. There are already 2 ways that we as individuals perhaps could use. There's a Cora ball used in the washing machine that's been invented in America. That can absorb a lot of the microfibers. And the guppy bag, invented in Germany, they actually have an international standard set up in Germany for testing other devices to collect microfibers. And whichever one we choose, we will be making a substantial impact. And I've calculated that over our 220,000 plus members, if we only wash 2 loads a week and use 1 or any other solution, we could reduce the additional load on the oceans by 3.2 trillion microfibers per year. And that would be a very worthwhile contribution, I feel.
Thank you. Number 3.
Susan Pitt, Oldham WI, Essex Federation. Please hear me out, ladies. An Essex girl. Another Essex girl, a younger one, my daughter, Dr. Frances Pitt, currently working and lecturing at Warwick University, is a marine microbiologist and virologist. 5 years ago, she was pleased to be accepted as one of the scientists on the James Cook survey ship, often seen on television in the news items, and she was on the journey from Southampton to the Falkland Islands. She plotted the course of the ship into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and we've got to think, ladies, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, the middle of our sea mass. I did go over the ship before it sailed, so I saw what she was doing. And the actual tubes and samples that went down into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, into the middle of our sea mass, 5 meters deep, with her filters under the bottom, when they came up and she was ready to examine them, they had the microfibers in them. Never before has she taken any interest in anything I have done in the WI. Never before. But when she visited me at Easter, she grabbed me in the garden and for a whole half hour she talked to me about the importance of her research, the importance of us as a WI and what we can do now. The timing is right. The new research, it's new research that's going on, but the timing is right and the action is now. So what action can we take? And she said we as a WI are very, very important. We can insist that the manufacturers of all washing machines put a filter on, and this filter we can regularly change. Water filtration plants can have this extra filter put on and they can be picked up and they can be collected and they can be incinerated. All that will make a tremendous change. In the laboratory next to her at Warwick are scientists working on the effects of the fibres in the marine animals, fish, that are then going into our food chain. So, ladies, the time and the action is now.
Thank you very much. Number 4.
Julia Betts, Carron District, WI, South Yorkshire. I'm fully in agreement with this resolution, but as a person who is very allergic to wool and to hair of any description, I find that living without man-made fibres would be very difficult for me. As a child, I always had to wear a cotton blouse under everything I wore, and to have to go back to that is not a very happy situation for me. I do agree with the resolution, but it isn't always easy.
Thank you very much. Number 5, is there anybody there? No. Number 6.
Granda, good afternoon. Rachel Davis, Frongoch WI, Gwynedd Meirionydd. My point's probably a bit more simple, but more of an observation of our society at the moment, that we've got to drive for cheap anything, whether it's food, and that also includes clothing. And not wanting to contradict the last sort of contributor, but I think we need to lead by example and stop buying cheap clothing and fast fashion. And it's a simple step that we can all take here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to number 1.
Denise Smythe-Wright from Abridge WI, speaking on behalf of the Hampshire Federation. Some of you ladies know me as a national trainer, but what you probably don't know is that I am president of the International Association for the Physical Sciences of the Ocean. I'm only the second woman in its 100-word history to hold that post. And I am off to Cape Town in a few weeks' time. I have spoken on marine plastics on a number of occasions, and I was recently co-editor of a document that went to the G7 science ministers, urging all countries to look at marine plastics. Plastic bags, bottles are just the tip of the iceberg. Microfibres are the bottom of the iceberg. It's a vast problem. We know it's there to haunt us. As the passionate lady speaker from the Open University, whose name I can't remember, said, we are really, really dealing with something that's far bigger than DDT and the CFCs, both topics which I have had to look at in my career as an oceanographer. Like the lady who spoke about her daughter on the James Cook, some of you know I have spent most of my years at sea researching this, and I have seen the marine plastics in the ocean. Can I just say, it's lovely as a retired oceanographer to see the ladies up there today fighting for the oceanographic course. I applaud them, and please, please give them your backing and vote for this resolution. We can make a difference. The WI always does.
Thank you. Number 2? Is there anybody at number 2? Yes? No? Number 3?
Angela Chapman, Highhurstwood WI in East Sussex. I've been asked to make this point on behalf of our WI, that we want to see these high-tech solutions suitable for attachment to our washing machines, put into our water purification systems, but we hope that some attention will also be given to developing solutions which are more applicable to third world countries and less well-developed civilizations, or differently developed, perhaps would be a better way of putting it. And as a retired plastics chemist, can I make one plea, and that is that people don't lump all plastics together. Plastics are a whole family of materials. You wouldn't regard all woods as being the same. Please don't regard all plastics as being the same, and please let us know which are the worst offenders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Number 4? Anybody there? 5? 6? Back to number 1.
Hello, I'm Diane Elliott from South Shields WI in Tyne South. I'd just like to say that the doctor from the Open University is now my new superhero. She is incredible. Such passion, fabulous. But I'd like to reiterate that the switch from artificial fibre clothing to natural fibre clothing is something that we can all do now while we're waiting for filters. But please not to make the mistake of switching to another fibre that could also have an environmental impact. Like many of you here, I'm a knitter, a crocheter, I'm bistitchual. And I was recently told on a trip to the wool shop that bamboo yarn, which is something that's increasing in popularity at the moment, actually uses so much water to process that it's not a viable alternative to anything. It's not good for the environment. So please don't make the mistake of previous generations when fixing a problem to generate a new one. And certainly the microfibers in the sea are a problem we need to deal with now. They are in the food chain. If you're eating scampi, if you're eating something that has eaten the prawns in the sea, you are ingesting it as well. It can't be left. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody at number 2? 3? 4? 5? 6? Back to number 1? Are we all done? Thank you very much. That was really, really good. Thank you very much. That was super. Oh, we've got one more. There's always one pops up when I think I've done. Yeah. Number 3.
Yes, hello, Julia Blake from Lewis Westgate, East Sussex Federation. It's just a brief word. My daughter is a scientist and she works for Southern Water, and her department she's in charge of is sampling of water from sewage outlets, etc., etc. I asked her what she knew about plastic soup, thinking I might get some info when I was doing my talk for my WI. And she said, what? She'd never heard of plastic soup. And she is an important person in the sewage purification plants. So the message hasn't got through to everybody. We do need to enforce the message to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got any follow-on from there? No, so I'll ask Hilary, would you like to use your right of reply before we vote, please?
Really just a thank you for such a fantastic debate and so much new input. It's amazing. So thank you for being inspired by this resolution. Thank you for looking into the research, all of you, not just the lady from the Isle of Ely. All of you have looked into the research and spoken to family members. You've tested the evidence, and then you shared your views here. It's so kind of you and so good of you. You've already made a difference. So whichever way the vote goes, if everyone in this hall decides that maybe they can buy natural or launder less, that will make a difference. Whichever way the vote goes, if everyone tells friends and family to buy differently, or perhaps look into corrobores or guppy bags, that will make a difference. But a vote for the plastic soup resolution can do so much more. A vote for the resolution means that every WI can contribute to local, open, educational events around these issues. A vote for the resolution means every member can use their pester power when they buy garments, when they buy laundry detergents, or even a new washing machine. A vote for the resolution is positive because our campaigning will encourage creativity and invention. It shows that we ourselves are willing to change and to learn, to choose to use products that contribute to solutions. A vote for the resolution is like an instant petition signed by the WI membership, which calls on industry to change and government to make sure they stick to it. It'll mean that the WI at national level can partner with other national and international organisations and add our voice to theirs, and that way we reach a whole new audience. A vote for this resolution will make all the difference. So please vote to putting a stop to plastic soup. Thank you.
Welcome to our meeting, Susie.
Before I begin, I should probably remind you just how strange my job really is. Janice alluded to it there, but I sit in the corner under the command of a very loud clock, sifting through letters and the pages of a dictionary to find long and interesting words. A strange job then, but a wonderful one, and it features a very special book. I have truly measured out my life in dictionaries. This is the book that changed my life. Janice has alluded to it already. While my older sister was reading adventure stories in the back of the car, learning how to use an eyelash curler, I became hopelessly lost in this. It has no heroines, no ballet dancers, no dragons, and no wizards. But there was magic of a very different kind. From its pages, I learned that the word silly first meant nice, that goodbye is a shortened version of God be with you, and that the very first meaning of focus was a fireplace. And throughout my childhood, I would genuinely sit in the back of the car, never wanting to get out at our destination actually, because I still had so much to read. It's 1,000 stories all wrapped up in a single, quite uninspiring, it has to be said, looking cover. This was my first dictionary. If you fast forward then to last week, you'd found me posting something on Twitter as a momentary distraction before I started work. And as it turned out, that distraction lasted for hours. The reaction to a single tweet was quite astonishing, and its subject was malaphors. Now, malaphors are the new kids on the linguistic block. They're expressions, really, that we unintentionally get mixed up, and the results are sometimes quite hilarious. So, you will see here that's a whole new can of worms. We'll burn that bridge when we come to it. You can't teach a leopard new spots, one of my favourites. And I have genuinely, twice in my life now, been called a minefield of information. So many tweets back of people who had their own examples, hilarious examples of how we get things mixed up. And over, such discussions for me confirm one really, really important thing: passion. Almost all of us are passionate about the words that we use, our family sayings, those wonderful consequences of slips of the tongue. We just don't always know that we're passionate until we are reminded of it. Roald Dahl told us, don't gobble funk around with words. And words do matter. Without them there'd be no history, no literature, perhaps even no thought. And of course, unthinkably for me, no dictionaries. So, why do words matter as much to us? Above all, of course, the answer has to be communication, because if we're not clear, then we won't be understood. Sloppy grammar, the wrong vocabulary, matters not because of old Latin rules about split infinitives, etc., but because our audience will trip up over our words and the impact of our message will be lost. There is a vast, vast treasury of words out there that we need to keep alive, and one of my main ambitions in life is to bring to the fore some of the sparkling gems of English that we have lost. Almost my entire Twitter feed is devoted to bringing some of these words back. The treasury is really large, and so is the thesaurus, and thesaurus actually started off meaning a treasure house. Very appropriately for me. Let's not lose words like these. By introducing just one word into your daily vocabulary, you can enrich your lives enormously. I promise you that. Let bi-stitch will be the word today. And let's celebrate the fact that 1500 years after it began to emerge, English truly is more robust and more vital than ever. We should celebrate its versatility, its ability to change as we need it to, and to keep up with every sparkling new bit of vocabulary, technology I should say, virtual or concrete that's flung at it. Let's celebrate the fact, and I know this is hard, that texting is language in evolution, and every year it adds new words to the dictionary. You may not like them, but you still care, and that's what matters. Let's celebrate the history of the words we use every day, their stories, big and small, their spellings, and why they have become the way they are. And as I say, above all, let's celebrate the vast reservoir of vocabulary that is genuinely lapping at our feet. It's not absquatulating anywhere, absquatulate being another favourite word meaning to leave in a hurry. It belongs to us all, English, and I'd just like to end with one of my favourite poems from Emily Dickinson, which says it all for me. A word is dead when it is said, some say. I say it just begins to live that day. Thank you.
Of the NFWI Board of Trustees for the next term was managed by the Electoral Reform Services. A total number of votes cast was 3,979, with just 10 invalid votes, making the total number of votes to be counted 3,969. That is 61% of WIs, and thank you very much for taking part in the election. There were 17 candidates for 12 places, and the new board will take office at the end of this meeting. And many thanks to all the candidates who stood for election. And before I introduce the new board, I would like to extend our grateful thanks to those trustees who did not seek re-election, to thank them for their hard work during a particularly busy centenary term of office. In alphabetical order, Lynn Andrews, Marilyn Haynes Evans, Janice Langley, Jane Probitz, and Joy Thompson. Thank you. And now, the introduction of those elected to the NFWI board for the two-year term, June 2017 to June 2019. Again, in alphabetical order. Katrina Adams, Lincolnshire North. Mary Clark, Gwent. Hilary Howers, Buckinghamshire. Anne Jones, Ceredigion. Sally Kingman, Cambridge. Yvonne Price, West Sussex. Julia Roberts, Worcestershire. Gerald Stone, Warwickshire. Lynn Stubbings, Warwickshire. Patricia Tulip, Northumberland. Amanda Wilday, Powys Montgomery. Susan Wilson, Gloucestershire. And the board will be joined by Meyer Stevens, the elected chair of the Federations of Wales, as an ex officio member. Please welcome the NFWI board for 2017 to 2019.
We are coming to the end of another interesting and inspiring day. My last annual meeting as the NFWI board member and as the NFWI chair. And this could be my very last chance, which is why I wanted everybody to hear, to say exactly what I want to in front of everybody. It's also going to be my last opportunity to say, I've just had a thought. So can I share this thought with you all? The strength of the WI comes from its common purpose, improving the lives of women. Is there a woman in the world who doesn't want to improve her lifestyle, make a better life for her family, or learn something new? I'm sure we all learn something new every day and in our own WIs. Our WI, Our Future questionnaire, highlighted outings and socials, that they are important to everyone, and I would agree with this. And many of these are a learning experience. But the origins of the WI are in educating women. Herewith sits our charitable status, which is precious and shouldn't be put in jeopardy. Perhaps the word education is off-putting. Don't we all have a natural curiosity? Some of us would say we're just plain nosy. We were born with it. I mean, how can you curtail curiosity? We all know that young children love to stick their fingers in electric sockets. And haven't any of you ever popped your finger into a sauce or a potted jam or a bowl of soup just to see what it tastes like? Curiosity or a need to experience new things. I think we all need to experience new things. And when the WI was formed in England and Wales, women took up the challenge to feed the nation and not let the produce go to waste. This was a new experience, and members are still interested in these issues, as the resolutions show. There are women all over the world struggling to educate and feed their families, experiencing hunger and hardship. And there are voluntary organisations in this country collecting out-of-date food from supermarkets and, with the help of volunteers, making affordable meals for homeless men and women and families struggling to survive on a meagre income. The education aspect is what makes the WI what it is. We're not just a women's group, although we are a group of women, and might I say inspiring women, who want to learn new skills and make new friends, but above all want to make a difference. The questionnaire has told us that members value the friendship and fun that we get out when we join the WI. Our charitable status is dependent on us providing education to women, and we need to remember this. It's not all about the social stuff. The WI plays a unique role providing women with educational opportunities and a chance to build new skills and to make part of a wide variety of activities and to campaign on issues that matter to them and their communities. The success of the WI depends on all three parts of the organisation, the WIs, the federations and the National Federation, and it depends on them working to fulfil the charitable objects, our purpose. To achieve this, we need to ensure that every member has access to everything that the WI has to offer. And the My WI area on the website will be there to do just this. And I, for one, have every intention of testing it to its capacity. I've just had another thought. I could write to the new NFWI chair and complain about things I'm not happy with. Anyway, during my time on the board and as chair, I've had some truly interesting and unique experiences. Probably the most exciting and nerve-wracking was to have been the day of the 2015 Centenary Annual Meeting. The day we all planned and waited for so long, and for me it seemed to be over in a flash. I've met a variety of people, from Her Majesty the Queen and a number of Royal WI members, the Lord Speaker, had a personal tour of the Isle of Man Parliament by the President of Timor. I sat on a delayed train going to Truro and was encouraged by a gentleman to share his packet of crisps. It's always been a challenge when being met at the station by a WI member's husband, who, as I am told, will be holding a copy of WI Life. Now, I often wonder if there were two men there with WI Life, which one would I choose? The youngest or the best looking? Got no idea. I've met the Wombles on Wimbledon Common. Jana and I went there. I've been kissed on the cheek by Anton Dubeck. That was on Facebook. I've stood outside the DTI in Victoria Street with two people dressed as bananas to promote fair trade bananas. And Ruth Bond and I each had a large suitcase full of homemade fair trade chocolate cake, which we took on the train to a fair trade event on the South Bank. I don't know what anybody would have thought if we'd opened the suitcase to it, I could see it. I've had my photo taken with Mary Berry, Barbara Taylor Bradford, Theresa May, to name but a few. But far the best has always got to be, if you go to the WI, to the garden party, and WI Life come along and they take your photo outside, and all these tourists want to have their photo taken with you. Got no idea what to do with it when they get home, because they've got no idea who we are. I've visited fair trade producers in South Africa, been to ACWW conferences worldwide. I've been fog-bound in Guernsey, and dropped off after a 2-day on a WI Saga cruise, which I got on in Dover, at Invergordon in Scotland, which, as you know, is probably about as far away from Goring by Sea as you could possibly get. During my 4 years as the NFWI chair, I've been to many federations and many council meetings, enjoying the hospitality of the federations and WIs, and enjoying meeting many of the members. Now, I plan to buy a map to sit down and work out where I've been, because I've been a bit like a robot. I get on the train, it takes me to where I'm going. I get to the station, I get off, I meet a WI member, she takes me to the meeting. Somebody else takes me back to the station, I get on the train and I go home again. So, you know, sometimes I stay overnight, but most of the time I just haven't really got much idea where I've been at all. Although I have to say, there's been some really enjoyable scenery. So now it's my opportunity to say thank you. First of all, to the staff, and for all the work that they do for the organisation on a day-to-day basis, most of which goes unnoticed by the membership, particularly in the lead-up to days like today and the extraordinary centenary celebrations. The staff in London, NFWI Unit, Wales and Denman all need to work together and to keep the continuity when committee members change, board members take on different roles. They give guidance, support, they prepare for meetings, internal and external, they give briefing notes and media coverage, and with that I would like to think comes a level of friendship which provides a very positive working relationship. My special thanks to Jana, who always says, I'm just doing my job. Thank you for her guidance and expertise, and the time she stayed on at the office to spend valuable time with the officers, working through difficult situations, and sometimes just discuss one of my I have just had a thought moments. I'm not wanting to sound as if I just won an Oscar, although I feel as if I might have done, but I'd like to thank you all my family and my friends, and my hairdresser, who was here as my guest today. Joking aside, Sue, never a bad hair day, has there? Always been good. And you've got no idea how much it cost me to bribe the board members, those here today and some previous board members, to keep compromising evidence off Facebook. Seriously though, I'd like to thank them all for their help and their support, their friendship during my time on the NF board. Some innovative times. I've seen the introduction of WI Life, the WI Guide, the WI Inspiring Women logo and branding, but more especially for the time and commitment they have put in over the last 4 years while I've been the chair. There have been some anxious times, exhausting times, some really funny moments, and times when we weren't sure whether we'd ever live to fight another day. But we've been a team, a good team, and we work together to carry out policy and make the WI the best it can be. The officers have been there for me during the sad times and shared the good times. Emma's wedding 3 months after David died, special moments with my grandchildren, and Abigail giving the podium to the Queen. It's a treasured memory. During the time on the board, all my children have got married. So no problem that year for a wedding outfit. Worn at the annual meeting, that's fine. I could do with another wedding somewhere to wear this one. And I've had 4 grandchildren, 3 of which are potential WI members. 5 of us decided not to stand for re-election on the board. Mary Lynn and Joy and I have been on the board over 10 years together. Jane and Lynn Andrews for 4. And I'm sure they'll agree with me when I say it's been a privilege, an honour and a pleasure to have been elected by the membership to the board, to be part of the decision making and having participation in so many groundbreaking projects and activities. And now, a very warm welcome to those joining the board. Welcome to the new trustees, Hilary, Sally, Yvonne, Gerald and Maya as the Chair of Wales. And I hope they enjoy their new challenge and enjoy being part of this very special team. But last but not least, I've got to say thank you to all of you for your friendship and support, because without you, there'd be no WI. You are the inspiring women, making the WI what you want it to be. Thank you.
I won't start with so. Janice, it gives me great pleasure on behalf of all the members present today to thank you most sincerely for guiding us through another successful annual meeting. Some came with a little trepidation, but all came with enthusiasm. In your usual cheerful way, you have conducted the business with efficiency and fun, a true inspiration to us all. You must have travelled many miles and shaken many hands in the past 4 years as chair of this, our wonderful organisation, and always with that cheeky twinkle in your eye. Definitely a smirkle. It is a personal pleasure to be here today at your last annual meeting as National Chair, as you were present at my last meeting as Federation Chairman of Cornwall. However, I believe I got to Liverpool a lot quicker than you got down to Truro. I'm sure that every member has appreciated your commitment and service to us all and wishes you well in the future. Thank you.
All you need is love, love, love is all you need. Nothing you can know